friends, welcome back to Health Highlights, where I spend the time learning about all things health and bring you the highlights. Most everyone has struggled with losing weight in their lives. Dr. Gundry explained this struggle well in his podcast titled Possible Warning Signs You're Not Healthy. I'll include a link to this video in the show notes in case you want to take a deeper dive. For now, here's what I learned about why it might be hard to lose weight, especially when you are seemingly doing everything right. Mitochondria are organelles in almost all of the cells in our bodies. They take the food we eat and turn it into energy, or ATP. Normally, mitochondria can take either sugar or fat and convert them into ATP. Mitochondria are very efficient at turning sugar into energy. If your body runs out of sugar, normally mitochondria can easily switch to burning fat for energy. This is metabolic flexibility. It is the ability for your mitochondria to use sugar or fat, whichever is available, to make energy. The vast majority of people who are overweight or obese no longer have this flexibility. They don't have the ability to switch from burning sugar to burning fat for energy. And surprisingly, 50% of normal weight individuals cannot transition from burning sugar to burning fat to make ATP. When we eat carbohydrates and protein, and that sugar gets into our bloodstream, insulin is secreted, which tells our cells to take in the sugar to burn for fuel. When our muscles are full of all the sugar they can store, the excess sugar and protein, which gets converted to sugar, gets stored in our fat cells as fat. Normally, when you stop eating, insulin plummets, which signals your cells to stop storing sugar as fat and allows you access to your fat to use as energy as needed. Most people run out of sugar as fuel after 8 hours of eating. You not only run out of the sugar you ate, but you also run out of the sugar stored in your muscles as glycogen. Since you haven't eaten, no insulin is in your bloodstream, and fat cells are open to release fat to be burned as fuel as your body needs it. 88% of overweight people have no metabolic flexibility, which means when they stop eating, they cannot use fat for fuel because their fat is trapped in their fat cells. How is it trapped in their fat cells? They haven't eaten in 8 hours. Insulin should be down, allowing access to the fat to burn for fuel. Remember, when insulin is out in our bloodstream, it says store fat. This blocks any fat from being used as fuel. So why can't metabolically inflexible people burn fat after not eating for 8 hours? Because their insulin never gets low enough in their bloodstream. The standard American diet is highly processed, which means every meal we eat has a lot of starch and sugar. Every time we eat this, insulin is released, telling our cells to store and hang on to fat. We are also eating this food all day long without giving our bodies a break from it. That means insulin is constantly in our bloodstream, telling our cells to store and hang on to the fat. Eventually, this way of eating leads to insulin resistance, which makes your pancreas pump out more insulin, keeping this cycle increasing. Bottom line is, after the metabolically inflexible person stops eating for 8 hours, they still can't access their fat to burn for energy because their fasting insulin levels are too high. Even when they haven't eaten, their insulin levels are high in their blood, telling their fat cells to hang on to their fat, don't use them for energy. Not only does this make it hard to lose weight, it increases diseases of aging, prediabetes, diabetes, dementia, high blood pressure, coronary artery disease, and cancer. If your brain cells have to have sugar to survive because they can't get to fat because your insulin level is high, by the time you stop eating for 8 hours, your brain cells are starving to death every night, even though you are overweight or obese. They literally have nothing to use as fuel because you can't access your fat to keep them alive. Is it any wonder that we are seeing this epidemic of memory loss and dementia like never before? When we see men or women with elevated insulin levels in their 50s or 60s, it is a guarantee that they will have accelerated memory loss in their 70s and 80s. Why? Because it's a guarantee that your brain starves to death every night. Americans eat 16 hours a day, from the minute we get up until we go to bed, to keep our brains from dying. The lower your insulin level, the less insulin blocks fat from coming out of your fat cells. The higher your insulin level, the more it blocks fat from coming out of your fat cells. Normally, depending on the lab, your fasting insulin level should be under 10. The closer it is to 1, the more metabolically flexible you are, because you no longer have insulin blocking your ability to take fat out of your fat stores. You can have a normal HbA1c and can still have an elevated fasting insulin level. Many doctors don't know to check fasting insulin levels. Be prepared to educate them. How do you fix this? This is fixed by using intermittent fasting or time-restricted eating. In general, the more you compress your eating window, when you start and stop eating, the better. A 6 to 8 hour eating window is best. This makes you more metabolically flexible. The problem is that when you have an elevated insulin level, when you stop eating, the clock starts ticking for how long before your sugar stores will run out. It is somewhere between 8 to 12 hours. If you are metabolically inflexible, you will be hungry when you wake up and need to get some form of sugar in you. You need to get to a point where your first meal of the day is at noon. This is difficult when you are metabolically inflexible. This is also a sign that you are metabolically inflexible. Another sign you are metabolically inflexible is that you get headaches, hangry, and brain fog when you don't eat sugar. To overcome this, work toward it slowly. If you usually eat breakfast at 7, stretch it to 8, Monday through Friday. You can take weekends off and eat at 7 if you want. The following week, stretch it to 9, Monday through Friday. And then you can take weekends off. The next week, go on to 10, and so on. You may not be ready, then stay at 9 for another week. The more you can slowly adapt to this, the more your insulin level will slowly go down, and once your insulin level goes down, miraculously, fat is released from your fat stores, and now your mitochondria have the fat available to them to burn to make ATP. Now they are metabolically flexible and can use fat for fuel. Metabolic flexibility will not only help you lose weight, it will help with your overall health too. To learn more, check out Dr. Gundry's book titled Unlocking the Keto Code. I will include a link in the description bar if you are interested in it. Thank you for joining me on our health journey together. Leave a comment about what has helped you to lose weight. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss any health highlights. Until next time, here's to health.